Today's First Alert afternoon weather update is brought to you by Lockhart Roofing.
Good afternoon and welcome to the First Alert Desk. I'm First Alert Meteorologist Diane Phillips joining you this afternoon. Hopefully you've been able to get outside and enjoy the nice weather, but we also have found that it's pretty warm and also still smoky outside. We were yesterday talking about the wildfire smoke, and I do have some good news to report on that, but we also are going to be talking about a weather pattern change that's going to be headed our way here starting tomorrow, and we can even see the weekend ahead when we have a check of that First Alert 7-day forecast. So we still have a lot to discuss here as we go into our afternoon hit, but we are happy that you are joining us. As always, you can connect with us at WNEM.com and on the First Alert weather app. Of course, I'll be having that QR code up here shortly. But as we get started today, I do want to show you a live look outside. Actually, oh, there we go. That camera just now catching up. So we are finding our conditions are showing us that we are looking pretty good here regarding our chances as far as that sunshine. We do, though, have those conditions that are a little bit smoky off towards the south. So that is going to allow for us to continue to track wildfire smoke here as we go through the next couple of hours and even into the afternoon. As we take a look at our air quality forecast, we are still forecasting some of our locations to be in that unhealthy for some zone. So that means that if you maybe have some respiratory conditions, or maybe you're just a little bit more sensitive to the conditions as well, maybe even some pre-existing conditions, that you may find that it's just a little bit uncomfortable for you to spend long periods of time outside. So make sure that you're taking care of yourselves. Even if you don't have any conditions, you still may find that the smoke can bother you. I know I was out last evening. I was able to smell the smoke outside, and I thought, oh, I hope I don't have any sinus issues. Thankfully, feeling good, but you always got to kind of keep an eye to how you're feeling when we have the weather that's just maybe not ideal and how we would want it to be for the summer, because a lot of us, we want to be outside, we want to be hanging by the pool. I know a lot of the kids, they're outside, they're enjoying the nice weather here for the summer season, considering school's probably going to be coming up here in just a couple of weeks. But let's not focus on that. Let's talk about that wildfire smoke. In our latest run of the conditions, we still are kind of sitting in that low to moderate zone here. And by the afternoon, you'll see that we have a little more blue that starts to take over. So that blue color, it's on the lower and kind of thin end of the scale. So that is a good sign that the wildfire smoke is starting to thin. But still, it's going to be around for your evening plans and overnight. We will find that as we go into tomorrow morning, it's still pretty thin coming out the door. If you do some morning workouts, some exercises, go for a morning run, we still will have some smoke in play by then. But as we go into the afternoon, we really start to clear it out. We don't even have any coloring over mid-Michigan. So we do have that wind flow that's going to be blowing that smoke away. So the good news is that we do see some relief to get back outside. Temperatures are also going to be a little bit more comfortable once we get that smoke cleared out of the area. So the good news is that we do see some relief. But if you are going to be going to Standish today for the Aranac County Fair, that's underway. Actually, that just started yesterday. So if you haven't been there yet and you're looking for a nice time to go, how about this afternoon? We have a lot of sunshine. We do have temperatures that are going to be into the 80s. It's a warm afternoon, of course, and if you're going to be headed there this evening, we still plan on temperatures to be into the upper 80s, near 90s, because we are forecasting highs today to be near 90 degrees. Let's take a check of those current temperatures. We do have 90 degrees in Bay City, Clear. We have 85 in West Branch, 84 in Flint, 87 in Standish already. We are at 85 in Bad Axe, 82 in Caseville, and even our lakeshore communities are still sitting into the upper 70s, but I anticipate with the heat that we have today that we will start to feel a little bit of that difference, and I'll notice it getting closer to those 80s. So it is going to be a pretty warm afternoon. We are forecasting those highs to be right around 90 degrees for some of us. And as we take a check, some may just be around 88, 89. It's still going to be warm, and the humidity is also a factor that we are keeping in mind, because when it's just 90 degrees, that's warm on its own. And then when you add a touch of humidity in, that just is kind of that little extra icing, but maybe it's not the icing on the cake that we're hoping for. But when we look at dew points, we're seeing those into the low to mid 60s. So this is where you do start to feel some of that humidity, but it's not necessarily uncomfortable or all that thick, because you know sometimes you walk outside and it feels like you're trying to walk through water. Thankfully, it's not nearly as bad, but we do find that we have some muggier conditions that are going to be coming up later this week. As we pull up that muggy meter, we will find that those dew points do climb a little bit going into Wednesday. Now, this is when we are going to be talking about some rain chances. So those are going to be another reason why the humidity, that we have heavy downpours in the forecast for Wednesday. So we are able to kind of tap into all that moisture, bring it down to the ground level. Then as we go into Thursday and then Friday, you can kind of see that once that front passes, the humidity is going to drop. It's going to be very comfortable to be outside. So if you have plans Thursday evening, or maybe even going into Friday. I know we have Friday Night Live that's going to get started here in downtown Saginaw on Friday. We should have some great weather. Of course, last week we did have to worry about some rain, and it did cancel some of those events like Friday Night Live. But thankfully, I anticipate this week we should be moving and grooving in downtown, so that'll be good news. But going into Saturday, I do have a hint of some rainfall coming in. It should be a little bit later, but that will allow for us to be having some humidity while we have maybe some plans earlier into the day. As we look ahead to those rain chances, we do have those chances for Wednesday and Thursday. So we will find that we still have the dry weather for your plans today and still great weather for Friday. But even as we go into Wednesday, I've been looking at some of the data here from the early afternoon information, and it looks like we might be able to pull that Thursday back, maybe get that closer towards a 30% and also time it out to where it's just into the morning. So that would be really helpful to kind of just leave everything into Wednesday mainly, besides just a few lingering showers into Thursday. So we may need to make that change when you tune into TV5 News at 4 p.m. on our on-air products, because then we may have a change in that forecast. But we just don't have here in the 2 o'clock hour, we just don't quite have all that afternoon data to get that forecast totally fine-tuned. So you're kind of right in the middle of our forecasting sector here. So we've been talking about the heat and the humidity and the rain, but before we get into the hour-by-hour forecast with all the rainfall, I do want to take a real quick break, and we'll be coming back in just a moment. Welcome back. Now, we have been kind of first alerting you to some rain chances here for the middle of the week, and we may still need to make some updates, but it still looks very favorable. So it's kind of the middle of the week. We do anticipate a weather pattern change that's going to help us clear out the smoke. That will bring us some rainfall, but it also is going to make our forecast maybe a little bit cooler for what you might expect for July, but it's still going to be pretty nice outside. So hopefully you can make some plans. You'll actually find on Friday, if you have a little bit of PTO, I highly recommend that you take it then, because it's going to be a nice weather day, and then you can make it a long weekend. So you have a little bit of time to get that calendar organized here. But let's dive right back into that first alert forecast with the hour by hour. It's going to be pretty quiet here for the evening. Not too much going on just yet. And then we will continue to see some of those rain chances try to pick up as we go into the morning. Now, we do have just a little bit of cloud cover that's going to be building in tomorrow morning. You'll see that in our northern counties. But as we go throughout the day, it really starts to pick up where we have the rainfall. So as we kind of back that up here, looks like my computer's a little bit frozen. So we'll just have to kind of take this as the pause points that I have. So it'll really be around lunchtime that we do see that rain kind of picking up for us. That is going to be bringing us a chance for heavy downpours. I really don't see anything as far as severe weather. I don't have that rotation component within these storms. So we are going to be monitoring still for heavy downpours. With the humidity, we'll be able to kind of pull those buckets of rain. And when all that rain comes crashing down, it can also have wind with it, because it can go and get that wind moving at a pretty quick pace. And that's when we have some of those damaging wind gusts in these thunderstorms. So really the heavy rain and damaging winds is what we would be watching for in any strong thunderstorms. We do only have a marginal risk that's going to be around as we go into that time frame, but that still doesn't mean that we can just ignore the forecast either. So be cautious. We do have the potential for some stronger storms, but overall conditions are looking a little bit more favorable for us to be having the rainfall in the afternoon, still into the evening. Here we are at 6 o'clock, where we do have these scattered showers and thunderstorms coming through. And then we will continue to see these as they build in at night. Now, we also are going to start to lose some energy. And I know this is not necessarily ideal timing, but this is kind of the backside of the storm that's going to be coming through. So do anticipate some rumbles of thunder Wednesday night as you're going to bed. Again, severe weather is not expected, but check in on that First Alert weather app. This is going to be a great tool to have, especially if you want to get some easy sleep in for Wednesday night. So then you can check radar. You can use the future radar tab and see what we're working with. So scan that QR code there. The app is free to download. You can get it if you have an Android or iPhone. You can have it on both of those products. You can also put it on your tablets if you have maybe an iPad or even a different kind of style tablet. So there's many ways that you can connect. So you can get that on the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. So then you can watch radar as we go into Wednesday evening. Now we will find that that rain is still going to be pushing through the first couple of hours of our Thursday, and then we do have it trying to clear the area by the time the sun's coming up on Thursday. So we still have quite a bit of cloud cover that's lingering, and I still anticipate at least a few showers. You can see a couple of specks here into the thumb, but we will overall find that once that morning rainfall, that lingering rain leaves on Thursday, that we are going to start to slowly clear it out. So we're probably going to catch a lot of sunshine after the fact, but at least much of Thursday is dry as we try to kind of transition to a more comfortable and a little bit cooler of a forecast. Now, some of the rain totals here, you are going to find that we have some better chances just because of that late night rain that's going to be coming in closer towards bedtime. That's going to be closer towards 127 and north of US 10. So that's where we do see some of those more blues and purples coming in. Now note, with this model prediction, this is just kind of a general guide. These are not going to be exact numbers. These are not going to be what you are measuring in the rain gauge necessarily if you see that nearly 2 inches in Clare and Mount Pleasant. What we're really kind of trying to pick up on is the big trend, the big picture here. So again, locations along 127 and along US 10 and kind of north of there when we pick up that heavy rain. I also just want to point out with summer thunderstorms, it's so hard to pinpoint where those are actually going to hit. So you may find that you are pretty good on the rainfall, but then your neighbor, they need a little more rain because they've been missing out on some of the thunderstorms coming through. And really, in the last 2 weeks, we've been working with thunderstorms that have been dumping a lot of rain, and not everybody has seen them. So some of us are needing a little bit of water. I know some folks in our newsroom are saying, hey, I don't want to water my grass. Can you provide us with a little bit of rain? So even if you're in good shape, some folks do need the water as it comes through. So we should be able to have plenty of room to take up the water. So flooding concerns are not necessarily going to be on the table for us. And we will find that it's just those heavy bursts that bring down all that rain, fill up the rain gauge, and then it moves on. So we'll be watching the scattered rain totals as we go into the evening. Now, our First Alert 7-day forecast, we do have temperatures today right around 90 degrees, and we're still into the upper 80s on Wednesday, but we do have some showers and storms that are going to be possible Wednesday, kind of into Thursday. Again, I'm planning on making some changes to that Thursday forecast once we get closer towards the 4 p.m. newscast on our over-the-air products. And by Friday, that's really the nice day. So this is where I was talking about using a little bit of that PTO to have some fun outside, because we will be looking at a lot of sunshine, temperatures into the mid-70s, and low humidity. Sunny, mid-70s, low humidity. I think that checks the box for everybody. I think that's going to be a day where everybody loves the weather. So make some plans to be outside on Friday. Again, Friday Night Live, that's going to be happening in downtown Saginaw. We have the Aranette County Fair that's going on here this week. So there's plenty of fun to be had here during the summer season, and thankfully Mother Nature knows it, and we are getting spoiled on Friday. Come Saturday, the rain chances are a little more isolated, and they are geared towards the evening. So if you do maybe have some plans around noon or early afternoon, or even going around 4 or 5 o'clock, should right now be in good shape to get those plans in. But the later we get into the day, those rain chances start to creep up. Again, it will be an isolated rain chance. We're only sitting at 20%. But if you do have some Saturday night plans, maybe you're having everybody out on the deck and you're still going to be out there around 8, 9 o'clock, that's when you're going to be using the First Alert Weather app. And still get together, you just want to keep an eye to radar and make sure that you are in good shape and you don't have the rain coming down on your party. Now into Sunday, we still have a few showers. Those are going to be scattered as they push across for the weekend. So it's not going to be a total wash of a weekend, and it will be, again, scattered on Sunday. So that day is not going to be widespread either. But as we go into Monday, we'll have a mix of clouds and sun. We've been kind of trying to see this weekend system linger a little bit longer. So far we've been able to hold off on rain chances. But if we need to make some changes, Monday could be a day where we do need to make some updates in the forecast. But we will see that really Wednesday and then Thursday morning are going to be those better rain chance days. So those are going to be the radar watching days, and then of course going into the weekend as well. Now we do, of course, kind of speaking of the weekend, have some plans that are going to be coming up. So maybe you're going to be hanging out by the water. If that's the case, make sure you stay with us. Right after this quick break, we're going to be talking about a little bit of water safety that I want everybody to kind of keep in mind here as we go throughout the summer season. Thanks for sticking with us. Now, we have seen a lot of people wanting to get outside and enjoy the water, whether that's hanging out at the pool, at the pond, or maybe even going out on the Great Lakes. We want everybody to be cautious while they're out there. We have had quite a few incidents, not only on Lake Huron, but even in local waterways as we've gone throughout the summer season. So as a reminder, we did have our very own Emeritus St. Henry. She put a package together on what we can expect here for the summer season and how to stay safe. So I'm going to toss it over to her so that you can have that reminder as we go here through the summer season to make sure that you are staying safe on the water.
People are flooding area waterways, and as we've seen these last few days, some of those trips to the beach have ended with scary and even tragic consequences. Just yesterday, a child drowned on Lake Huron in Iosco County, and 3 young girls drifted about a mile offshore from Bay City State Park on floats. Tragedy also struck over the weekend in Huron County. The sheriff there tells TV5's Meredith St. Henry the Great Lakes can be dangerous even for experienced watergoers. Meredith?
Meg, the Huron County Sheriff told me people are underestimating the power of Lake Huron. There's simple things you can do if you kayak, paddleboard, or take a small watercraft out into the water, all to make sure you make it back and not end up calling for help.
I've seen a lot of pictures on social media or in ads or articles or what have you about how pretty the shoreline is. You bet it is. It is awful pretty. But if you're going to go out there, you got to know when the right time is to go out there or what to expect when you get out there.
Since the beginning of June, Sheriff Hansen of Huron County says there's been at least 6 water emergencies, including 1 drowning we previously reported happened on Saturday in Port Crescent State Park.
Even though there were warning signs of fast-moving, muddy water, it just didn't, just didn't come to them that we better get out of here.
The most recent emergency happened on Monday when 2 paddleboarders were pushed off course.
You know, they took off from Port Austin on paddle boards and the wind that picked up there that they really should have never did that, experienced or not.
Sheriff Hansen says all these situations could have been avoidable by checking the forecast. He recommends not kayaking or paddling if the winds are over 10 miles per hour.
The water looks like it's nice and calm or it's not all that rough until they get further offshore with that south wind. The waves build. Most of the time they'll end up capsizing, and Port Austin being located where it's at, if there's a south wind, they're going to be blowing right into the big open area of Lake Huron. The water is at least 2 to 3 weeks behind temperature-wise. It's cold.
He also says to make sure you tell someone where you are going and when you should be back. Bring your cell phone in a waterproof bag and always have a life jacket.
By law, you can't go out without a life jacket. People do. We've went as far over the years with as many incidents that have taken place to get life jacket loaner stations up there.
When a call does come in for a water emergency, it can take some time for a first responder to get there.
Nobody's sitting at a fire department waiting for this call to come in. Or, we at the sheriff's office have people out on the weekends, but we don't have a person at every harbor either. So if we've got a deputy working out of Caseville or Port Austin, sometimes you can't be at the right place at the right time.
If you can't take your cell phone with you, Sheriff Hansen says bring a whistle. And again, before you head out, always check the forecast. Back to you.
And we appreciate Meredith for keeping an eye to those conditions, of course, out on the water and talking with folks to make sure that we can stay prepared as we go here through the season. So, of course, those are some pretty good facts. Now, if you know somebody who's maybe a little bit busy here at 2 o'clock and they are not able to join us, and they need those water safety tips, you can share the link from YouTube. You can remind them that you can catch it on Facebook into the afternoon. So though those replay options are there, we still would love to have you live here at 2 o'clock at the First Alert Desk. Of course, those platforms, as always, are WNEM.com, on our live stream tab, at the WNEM TV5 News app. We also have our Roku and Fire Stick channels that are active. The Apple TV and Android TV option is there. And also you can get those reminders if you have that First Alert weather app to join the stream as well. So we will be back here tomorrow at 2 o'clock. We'll see what we have in the works, but we'll see you tomorrow with the latest First Alert forecast.
Thank you for joining us. Today's stream has been brought to you by Lockhart Roofing.